Welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I'm Harry, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and to click on that bell notification. That way when we're doing our thing, YouTube lets you know. Today we're going to be doing another board game review. Today I'm going to be reviewing this game right here, Carcassonne the Castle, designed by Reiner Knizia and published by Rio Grande Games. I'm going to set the game up, show you guys how it's played, and then we're going to get back to my final thoughts and grades. And this is what the game looks like set up. I do have this mat underneath the castle walls in order to pick up the color contrast, as opposed to my table, which kind of blends in with the castle walls. So the castle walls here also serve as the score track for the game. So as you see, all the numbers, scores from 1 through 100 go all the way around. Now, what's very, very interesting is you have a bunch of these bonus tiles in the game. You shuffle them, and you randomly choose a certain amount and place them on each of the corner spaces of the castle wall, which consists of 2 numbers, right? A range of 2 numbers. You put them on each of these corner spaces except for the 0 and 1 starting corner. Each player places one of their colored meeples, this is a 2-player only game, on the 0 of the score track, and they each still have 6 of their meeples remaining for placement throughout the game, and they also have this keep meeple, which they will always use to keep track of which is their biggest house, and that will play a huge factor come scoring time later on in the game. Now, I will shuffle from this bag here, because I always play Carcassonne with this bag. I don't play with the stacks. I just find that this is better for randomization. And we will start the game with the first player here. I'll start with the black player here. And we will draw a tile. And on the first turn, the very first turn, the first player has to place their tile alongside or adjacent to one of these starting spaces. If you look closely, the score track, the walls, each have like these half tile starting spaces, which is really cool because straight from the get-go, you already have a few options as opposed to regular Carcassonne where you only have 1 tile in front of you at the beginning of the game. And this is what I drew. So this feature right here is the house. That red is the house. We have the road with a fountain. The fountains are very helpful because normally a road, when you complete it, will score you 1 point per tile. But a road that has 1 or more fountains will score you 2 points per tile. So let's see what I want to do here. I think I'm going to start right here with a house to house and work towards building the biggest house, because as you'll see later, having the biggest house is very important in this game. And I'll place my meeple right here on that house feature. And now the white player will go and they will draw a tile. And okay, so they've got this. So they've got a bunch of court space as the game refers to it. And they've got a little corner here of house. And they too will go, they're going to go right here. And you know what? The white player is going to place one of their meeples flat, laying down, very similar to the farmer mechanism in original Carcassonne, which means that they will not be able to pick this up until the end of the game, unlike the meeples who are upright that you can collect once you complete their feature and score it. So this guy is flat, and there's a little tent here, which represents a market. And the way it works is at the end of the game, you're going to score points, 3 points for each market in the court of wherever you have your meeples here laying flat, right? So far, this is already guaranteed to give me 3 points. And if I can continue to have markets within the same courtyard, and the courtyard is represented by contiguous spaces with these green fields, so to speak, and if you have a cluster of these markets within that courtyard space, you'll score 3 for each one. Okay, so the white player is done with their turn. Black player will go again, and they will draw a tile, and they've got this right here, which is 3/4 of tower and a little corner here of court space, and they're going to go over here. All right. And that's what's really cool, because now you've got a lot of spaces, because going forward, yes, you can continue to place your tile adjacent to an already placed tile, but if there's still some of these starting spaces available, those are options as well. So again, it's just a lot of options early on that may or may not be there in original Carcassonne, which I find to be neat. Oh, I placed the wrong meeple here. This is the black player's turn. Okay, there we go. And now we will continue. We'll go with the white player's next turn. And they will draw this. And you see here, they drew a bunch of house space right there. So they will place theirs right here. And then they will place a meeple on the house. And they're off to the races as far as this house is concerned. Okay. And now it's the black player's turn. They got some more tower, but there's a little bit of a road here to throw a little monkey wrench into those plans. You know what? Two can play that game. So the black player will place this right here. And there's already one market in this courtyard on the starting space here. And then this tile I just placed also had a market. So that's already two markets. So if I lay my meeple player right here, that's already 6 points that I will score later on in the game. Okay, now we will move on to the white player's next turn. And they will draw this tile, which is more house. But again, we do have a road to complicate things. So we'll see what we do. All right. Well, if we place this right here, speaking of markets, that's already going to be two markets in their courtyard. Okay. And it'll make things challenging for whoever has to place tiles there in the future. So now we will continue with the black player's turn. And we have this space right here. So there's some challenging decisions here, but I think I'll just continue to add to my tower here. But while I'm at it, why not place a meeple here in this house? I might score for it. Oh, it's the black player's turn. I might score for it later on. Okay, and now the white player will go again. And the white player draws this right here, a bunch of house spaces, which they can just put right here. Because it's okay for a road to lead into the castle wall. That is a totally legal move. So he'll just place this right here and really extend the size of his house. And then he might as well place a meeple on this road just in case he could score it later on. You do not have to place a meeple down. For those who are not familiar with Carcassonne, it's not mandatory. You could always choose to bypass if you're not interested, because you do want to save these meeples, because you can't just pull them back off the board. You have to complete a feature in order to get them back into your supply. So now the black player will go again. This is a very interesting tile here. We have some house and some road. I think I might just do something like that. Nope, I'll do this here. Extend his house, because it's about time I start growing that house of his. Okay, and I might as well place a guy here on this road, because this road will connect to a well, so that's pretty good. Okay, and now the white player will go, and he draws this one right here. What can he do here? What can he do here that is helpful to him? Well, this right here is actually pretty good, because again, it extends his house. And he completes a road, because there's something here blocking off the road. So the road ends, right? Whenever a road is surrounded by either tiles or some other features within the tile, that closes a road. So you count how many tiles the road consisted of. It doesn't matter how many sections the road consisted of. It's the actual tiles, and there's two tiles. So this player is going to score 2 points. He's going to get his meeple back. He's going to score 2 points, and he's going to advance 2 on the scoring track. And if he wants to, he can place a meeple that he already had in his supply onto this road here, and he will. Okay. Or he could actually even go for the market here, but that would be 2 meeples that he would not have readily available, and that's something to consider. Okay, so now the black player will go, and the black player here has this tile right here, which could be very helpful for extending his house, but at the same time, it would limit him to having a smaller house. It might be worth it, though. It might be worth it. Or you might just do something like this. Or maybe even something like this. Huh. Maybe he'll do that. He'll do that here. And while he's at it, he'll place a meeple here on this house. Hopefully, that house might be bigger than the other one. Okay, here we go with the white player's turn. And he's got this, so some more house space here, some more road, some options to consider. Yeah, he could do something like this. It closes his road because, again, these little things here serve like as walls or ends for the road. So that road, again, is going to score. It's going to score him 2 points. So he'll score up to 4. He gets his meeple back. And he can choose whether or not he wants to place a meeple there. And he will. He has 2 options as to which road he wants to extend it to. He'll go this way. And the white player's done with his turn. Now it's time for the black player again. And they've got this here. The black player has no meeples to place down. So he's got limited options. He might want to end a feature here. And if he does this, he will. So he's going to do this right here. And more importantly, this is so that he can get a meeple back. He won't be able to use it this turn, but he'll get the meeple back. He's going to score this house feature right here. So basically, we've enclosed the house. It's been surrounded by other features. And then you count how many tiles actually that house consisted of, which in this case was only 1. So the black player is going to score 1 point, but more importantly, he gets his black meeple back to have options in future turns. Okay, the white player is going to go again. And the white player here draws this right here. We have a well, which will be helpful to his roads. We can enclose this house, which might be a good idea. You know what? Or do I really want to enclose that house? I might want to keep on enlarging it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to, as a white player, I think I'm just going to go right here and extend that road. And while I'm at it, place a meeple here on this tower space so that I might score for it in the future. Okay, black player is going to go again. And here we go. We draw some more tower spaces, which could be helpful. So I'm just going to go here and extend the size of that tower, which will hopefully score me lots of points. I'm going to choose not to put any meeples down there. I want to save it for something else. And now it's the white player's turn. And they've got a whole bunch of house right here, which they'll use right here to extend their house. And while they're at it, they'll place a meeple on this tower space, which hopefully they'll be scoring soon. Okay, so then the white player here, the black player, will draw a tile. And they've got a tower here. Okay, they've got a tower. And they will extend this right here. All right, so now let me just explain something real quick. One of the neatest things about this game, again, is these bonus tiles right here. Because if you can score points to make you land exactly within this corner, and again, it's always a range of 2 numbers. For example, here it's 12 to 13. If you land there, and you're the first person to land there, then you will pick up these tiles, and these tiles will give you different bonuses. So, for example, some of these tiles let you take another complete turn. Some of them make you double the score of one of your completed towers when you score it. Some of them allow you to score double the score of one of your completed houses, right? Or the player scores 1 point per tile, 2 with a fountain, for 1 uncompleted path. So normally uncompleted paths will not score you, but this here will let you score you points for uncompleted paths. The player scores 2 points per tile for 1 uncompleted path. The player scores 1 point per tile for 1 uncompleted house. So again, all of these bonuses give you additional ways of scoring extra points. So sometimes you might be pushed into decisions where you might make a decision on the board that will score you a few less points than the maximum, in order to land on these spots and get those bonuses, which again might be worth it because you might be sacrificing 2-3 points on that current decision, but in the long run that might actually get you more points in the future if you are able to utilize those bonus tiles to your advantage. Also, a very important thing is, as I mentioned, whenever you complete a keep or a house, you will always put your keep on the current largest house that you have completed. And then at the end of the game, we're going to look at the player who's completed the largest house or who has the largest keep. And that player is going to score points equal to all of the empty spaces within the castle. And at the end of the game, there's always going to be at least 16 empty spaces to count on. So you're always going to get at least 16 points if you are the player that has the biggest keep. So that's something to keep track of. So as far as the different features are concerned, the towers score you 2 points per tile every time you complete them. The houses score you 1 point per tile every time you complete them. Again, you have the courts with the markets, which will score you 3 points for every market that's within that same contiguous courtyard. And finally, the roads or the paths that are completed will score you 1 point per tile or 2 point per tiles if at least there's one fountain in that path. Well, let's get to hear my final thoughts and grades. And that's how you play Carcassonne the Castle. So before I go into my thoughts and grades, I like to say, first of all, this game is very much out of print and has been out of print for many, many years. So the only chance you have of acquiring this game is through the secondhand market, either through eBay or BoardGameGeek.com's Geek Market. But if you're very interested in it, then it might be worth a shot. Now, let's get to my grades. So first of all, let's talk about components. I'm going to give this a B for components. This has your typical Carcassonne tiles, quality tiles, your typical Carcassonne quality meeples. I will say that the graphic design is a little bit plainer than some of the more modern iterations through Z-Man Games of Carcassonne, but it's to be expected. This is a much older design, and it's through Rio Grande Games, right? But again, it gets the job done. Now let's talk about theme. For theme, I'm going to give it a D, which is not just your typical Reiner Knizia grade, but Carcassonne in general is not a very thematic game, right? Carcassonne is known for being a great gateway game, a little bit of an innovator in the industry as far as tile placement and meeples and stuff like that is concerned, but it's nothing to write home about as far as theme is concerned. So there's that. So I will give this a D. Now let's get to gameplay, and this is where this game shines. I'm going to give this an A++. Yes, an A++. The gameplay is so phenomenal. Now, I must give a caveat. I am a huge Carcassonne fan. My wife enjoys playing Carcassonne with me, which elevates my love and appreciation for the game. So take my opinion and my grades with a grain of salt. But I just love the way this game implements even that system of game that I've already come to know and love. So first of all, I like the fact that early on in the game, this gives you more options than Carcassonne because you have the outline of the castle wall, and some of those spots on the wall have tiles, right? Or portions of tiles already there so that you can connect to them. Usually in Carcassonne, if you're going first, you have very few options. You draw your tile, and then based on the starting tile, you might have an option or two. Realistically, sometimes you only have one option. Very rarely do you ever have four. Here, you already have a few options right off the bat because of the Carcassonne walls. So I like the idea that early on in the game, you have those options as to where to go to. So what else do I like about this game and its gameplay? I love the catch-up mechanism here because you have this race to the finish where the two players, is a two-player only game, the two players are trying to build the biggest house. So no matter how long the game progresses, you never want to give up on that goal, right? Because what happens is whoever gains the biggest house at the end of the game is going to score points equal to the amount of empty spaces within the castle. And there's always going to be like 16, 17 empty spaces. So that's a good chunk of points. So if you're falling behind, that swing of points might pull you ahead. And if you're in the lead, you don't want to neglect the house because it would suck to have played such a good game and end up losing because you overlooked the importance of building that biggest house. So again, that's a cool, I find, to be mechanism that keeps the lead player honest, and it keeps the player falling behind always hopeful and looking forward to something. So there's that. Now let's talk about novelty factor. I'm going to give this game a B-. Why? This is Reiner Knizia's version of Carcassonne, pure copycat. Not quite, guys. The tile placement and the, features, the topographical features to some extent, there's some overlap, sure. But Reiner Knizia definitely made this game his own. And first of all, the coolest contribution, in my opinion, is the idea of the score track. So the castle wall itself is your score track. And it's comprised of several corner spaces. And each of these corner spaces have two numbers on the scoring track, right? So it might be 1718 or 9293. And if you are able to score in a way that precisely lands you onto one of those corner spaces, well, there's some secret bonus tiles on each of these corner spaces waiting for the first player to arrive to that corner. And you snatch those bonus tiles, and those bonus tiles, they benefit you in some way. More often than not, what they do is they help you score in an additional way at the end of the game. And there's a few other immediate benefits and bonuses when you draw these tiles. So I find that to be so cool because sometimes it challenges the player or tempts the player to make a decision that on face value might look like it's not the most optimal because they're taking 2 points less maybe than they would have if they made another decision. However, that decision will get them access to one of these bonus tokens, and it may be worth it at the end of the day. So I find it to be really, really cool, and it really makes you think a little bit more about your scoring options. Usually in Carcassonne, it's very straightforward. It's very clear. Always make the decision that's going to score you the most points, but not so much in this case. And I find that to be very, very neat. And also, again, just all the ways that Reiner Knizia decided to make this game his own. He could have gone about things in a way that was even more of a clone of Carcassonne, but he wanted to make his contributions to that. And because of that, I will give this a B- of Carcassonne, even though he did take their intellectual property and borrowed it and used it with their permission, I'm sure. But even so, he took ownership of it and appropriated it for himself and made it work. Now let's get to the final grade. My overall grade is going to be an A. And yes, I gave it a negative grade in certain categories like components and theme. But let's be real, games like Carcassonne are not about the components and theme. They're all about the elegant, streamlined gameplay. They're all about how much fun they bring to the table, how easy they are to learn and to teach to others. And Carcassonne Castle does not fall short in any of those areas. It absolutely gets the job done. And because of that, I'm going to have to give this an overall grade of A. And that's it, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. Comment down below. Tell me what you think. Also, consider clicking on one of these videos on the screen. If YouTube is showing them to you, it's because they think there's a really good chance that you would like one of them. And also, click on the description down below and check my link to my Patreon account so that you can see how you can support this channel and be more involved with the behind-the-scenes process. Research and find a tier that works for you. This is Harry saying take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Bye-bye.